Thank you, Christine. So my asthma is acting up today, so I think that just means I need to breathe and speak slowly. So I'm going to try my best. It's hotter these days, but also colder these days. The planet hasn't been so hot since before dinosaurs were here, an entirely different geological point. How many people died that one hot summer in Detroit? The earth has been changed and will now expel the invasive species, but that's not all of we. The Anthropocene wasn't created equally. Dinosaur bones are more valuable than the lungs of children in Flint, or for that matter, Brixton, or for that matter, ice caps are melting in Greenland. When the Nordics first got there, they perished. They subsequently survived because of knowledge from the indigenous population, the Inuits, who understood their island's unique topographical landscape. 300 years later, those same people demonized them for eating seals, the same lack of geographical nuance practiced for some 300 years ago. Oh, but we landed a drone on Mars, so if science is progress, then why does it feel like we need to go backwards in order to reclaim our futures? This must be something about the ancestors who planted seeds with their heels, who drowned in the Atlantic becoming mermaids, whose bones will make up the foundation of continents millions of years from now. The planet will be here, but we will not. We will be just the remnants of stardust, a momentary glimpse in the universe. In 24 hours, humanity would be 3 seconds. So we matter because we are matter created over thousands of years from drops in the universe. We have shaped ourselves alongside the earth, and we have been shaped and damaged and managed alongside the earth, and we have worked and danced and created and modernized alongside the earth, and we will not be freed. We will free ourselves alongside the earth. Ma'un will have water. Farmers will have endemic seeds. Kashmir will have itself. Bangladesh will be an entirely different landscape. There will be no world GDP, whatever that means. There will be bioregions, biomaterials, Black people. There will be widespread healing and kale and Hennessy. The futures are literally what we unmake of them. At the moment this was written, Texas was frozen. Throughout colonialism, there have been hundreds of years of warnings. We were listening. What were y'all doing? So the second poem was written entirely from phrases and sentences from media reports, court transcriptions about Black women and girls who were killed by the police in the US between 1991 and 2020, which is the year of my birth till the year that I wrote this poem. So it's some fragments from just like reading a whole bunch of articles and putting this together. And it's called If They Speak of Us. Before Christmas, they called her behavior bizarre. They said she was threatening, talking crazy. They said they killed her after rescuing her son. They should not attempt to revive the woman. She dreamed, noticing the flashing lights, a woman determined, 5 shots. Love was a Black woman holding a knife. Officer is cleared in shooting during arrest. The police officers strangled her to death. They claimed to see her swallowing drugs. The absence of drugs in her system was confirmed by an autopsy, pumping 23 shots at Taisha, 12 of which hit her body. To them, there was no evidence they loved. To them, the shooting was ruled justified. They said there were tactical errors that led to the shooting. The bullet hit Kendra James in the hip, traveled up to her lower rib cage and killed her. The officers who shot her were both white. Love was hit 8 times. 9 days after a pregnant woman was shot dead by a police officer, there were protests. Is under investigation and interpretation and may never be defined, resolved definitively. Anguish and questions, United States Court of Appeals, 7th Circuit. I regret that loss of life. A 55-year-old woman died. She refused. She refused to stop and started walking rapidly. What happened at 4:15 p.m. May 21st, 1999 at La Brea and 4th Street is a tragedy. Instinctively and simultaneously, both officers drew. She refused. She had fallen asleep in the idling car. She was at a South Side store with her children. At the time of her death, she was a 47-year-old trans woman. She died at 7:50 a.m. before going to work. She was shot in her home. They didn't have to shoot that girl. They think everything's a gun. These things happen all too often. In grieving, police system failure, a woman killed by police gunfire had her hands in the air. A 92-year-old woman was killed. He put his pistol to her head and yelled, victim found dead. Police officers threw a concussion grenade into her apartment. They were under pressure to meet quotas for arrests and warrants, and another officer who admitted to extortion. The officers went out to dinner the night after the shooting. Internal Affairs did not recommend punishment beyond a verbal reprimand. The videotaped beating of a transgender woman, a Black woman, just long enough for her to protect herself. Police shooting of mother and infant exposes avoidable tragedy. The iceberg is the lack of accountability. Unarmed woman and baby, she shared her story. Isolated incidents, it's a shame. The entire incident suspended the use of grenades. She died 2 days after the result of traumatic blows. Nobody got hurt that day but her. At the conclusion of a standoff, police officers shot her with several weapons, including an AR-15 assault rifle, an alleged shoplifting incident. Untold story of Haggerty shooting. A new memorial was placed at the site. There was no justice for Duana Johnson in life. I'm getting out, I'm getting out. Combine this disturbing trend with a concurrent shift, testimony, we could begin to rebuild the broken trust. Added fuel to the fire, she received a wound to her chest. I can no longer remain silent. She showed us what love should be about. Armed with a pair of scissors, I want justice and we want answers. Okay, so I'm gonna read 2 more poems. This next poem was actually written for an exhibition at Ashara and Condeo's gallery, which has now closed. And the exhibition was called Adjust Your Minds or Adjust Your Eyes. And actually the day I was supposed to read the poem, I completely lost my voice. So I couldn't read the poem. And so I've just been performing it ever since at other venues because I think it's still relevant. So it's called Adjust Your Mind. Don't be fooled by a Black girl magic. We feel pain too. We are human like you too. Our magic belongs to our ancestors manifested from their resistance. We can pass down trauma and we can also pass down healing. Adjust your eyes. I said, adjust your mind. Can you see me clearly? I mean, can you see me? Ralph Ellison felt like an invisible man, like he was see-through. On this matter, Toni Morrison asked, invisible to who? We see you, I mean, I see you. The greatest form of care is access to unbridled existence, occupying a space with the option to just be. My pronouns are she, her, we. I believe in individuation, not individualism. And Kita said, it's not complicated, it's capitalism. Adjust your eyes. I said, adjust your mind. In Hindi, the word for yesterday and tomorrow is the same. So what does that tell us about the colonization of time? Community is pre and post colony. So going there is more like going back, and looking back is more like looking forward. You exist as a seed. Seeds are life, seeds are love. So you are love. Is it dark in here? Or is it just that freedom is Blackness? Is the North Star bright, or is it just that liberation is darkness? In hindsight, we don't see with our eyes anyway, so adjust your heart. This new life bursting from the scars we've been covering, and no white man will be innocent. Long live the soul of Nia Wilson. And when there is nothing left but darkness, will you be able to live with all the silence? Because sometimes we just need to be quiet. Just be quiet. Adjust your eyes. I said, adjust your mind. I mean, adjust your heart. I mean, adjust the paradigm. We are the darkness and we are the light. So this last poem is called A Giant Wave. When the giant wave comes washing over our bodies, Black people will become mermaids and Indigenous people will become seeds. What will you become? What is your story? I mean, where do you come from? Immigrants? Where do I come from? My parents. Our first geographer is our mother. Her uterus is our first environment, our first connection to nature. We are ripped, displaced, dispossessed, torn from the land, then worked, exploited, disposed of, and thrown back to the land. When they pull the last diamond from the earth's volcanic remains, when they poison all the water trying to pull oil from the seafloor, where will you be? What side of history will you be sitting on, or will you be sitting there with me? See, there is no separate survival. Everyone is a full-length mirror, so please don't destroy yourselves. Don't destroy yourself. We all come from the soil, from the earth. We are all made of the ocean from birth. We have essence and there are ecosystems, tiny acts of resistance. Protecting the earth is protecting ourselves. Thank you. So grateful to be here. This was so magical. Thank you all.